And so if you've been working with a Halo security platform in the past, then you have had access to the two primary ways to discover internet-facing assets. And that is via the enumeration of a seed domain with domain discovery and the enumeration of a IP range or CIDR or subnet CIDR block with a network discovery. And also our integration with AWS. So the integration with AWS and Google Cloud, which is brand new, Azure's brand new, Cloudflare is brand new, and GoDaddy's brand new, allows us to pipe into those DNS systems and bring that information to light, right? The goal is to assess those assets for risk. Now, a lot of the assets on these cloud infrastructures are ephemeral. Many they go up, they come down, and so it's you want to be aware of what assets are being deployed from those environments. And so there's the best way of doing that is piping into those DNS systems and getting a continuous scan to discover those assets. We've also released the new search functionality with search discovery. So you're going to be able to search the internet for assets utilizing a phrase, for example, or a particular image. You're going to be able to search registered domains with an asterisk or wildcard, for example. And the whole point of this is to identify assets that belong to you and also assets that have been cloned, right? Impersonating, there's malicious intent, and there's also just people that don't know any better. And they're cloning your asset maybe in a different country, for example, which I have an example of that. I'm going to go ahead and share with you later. And then we also are utilizing Whois as the data source. And so you can also search the Whois database. So let's jump into a quick demo here. And so this is the Halo security platform. We're a fully integrated security platform, meaning that we offer the attack surface mapping and monitoring solution. A layer ahead of that is the vulnerability management solution. We can scan your servers as well as their web applications for vulnerabilities. And then the third layer to that would be pen testing. And so we have a whole area that you can manage your pen testing projects located here under projects. But today we're going to discuss those three main features. So discovery. This is a discovery overview tab. As you can see in this demo environment, I have 804 subdomains that I'm monitoring on a continuous basis. There's 2 network IP ranges that I'm continuously monitoring to see if anything comes alive. We have related hosts, related domains, which I'll discuss here shortly. And then here's a nice geolocation of my infrastructure. As well as you break things down based on what we detected. Is it an API that we detected as part of these domains? Is it a phishing site, a park domain, malware, or adult content? So domains. Traditionally, whether you're looking at any type of framework, whether it's NIST, whether it's the cyber kill chain by Lockheed Martin, really any framework, the very first step is identify, right? You want to identify the assets. You want to perform reconnaissance. Ethical hackers perform reconnaissance. Malicious actors perform reconnaissance of an organization that they're looking to attack. And so you want to perform the same. And so reconnaissance really begins simply with enumerating a root domain, for example. And so that's what you've been traditionally seeing. And so that's located here. Connectors. As I stated, connectors, we'll jump into the AWS just so you can see the information that's pulled in from AWS. As I stated earlier, your AWS infrastructure is probably going to have some ephemeral assets, meaning they get deployed, they're hosted, and all of a sudden they get taken down. And the IP address is going to change all the time, right? So that's where you're looking here. You're looking to pipe into those DNS systems, pull that information in so you can assess the risk and also understand the exposures on those assets. Okay, so here's an example of that information. As I stated earlier, we also have integrations with Azure, Cloudflare, GoDaddy, and Google Cloud. Now, searches. I had a customer the other day. It was a prospect actually, and they were interested in our Halo security platform. One of the questions was, we had an incident not too long ago where, I was running the reconnaissance. I was doing the discovery of my assets on my own, and we discovered that an asset was being, one of our web assets was cloned. Right, it's an e-commerce site, e-commerce website, and so one of the assets, one of the brands, was cloned, and I think it was like in a different country, had a whole different domain name, but they completely cloned the web asset, and they were selling whatever they were selling. They're sort of collecting maybe credit card information, usernames, passwords, etc., in that different country, and so that's obviously an issue. And so the prospect was asking, was there a way for you to kind of identify this much faster? Because I'm utilizing 10 different tools. And that's actually a statistic that came from the ESG report, that most of security professionals use over 10 different tools to conduct reconnaissance. I mean, just subdomain enumeration alone, I think there's 15 different tools just for that. So if you can imagine all the various tools that would be needed in order to conduct reconnaissance, it can get pretty exhausting. And so this individual was conducting reconnaissance and then moving that information to a spreadsheet and working off a spreadsheet. And so it's not very efficient. And so one of the methods I showed was that you can use these search web. And so search web is going to be able to, you're going to be able to enter like a phrase. So I can enter like powered by, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say powered by Halo. And then we're just going to let it sit there and see what comes out, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add that search there. And that's going to go ahead and search the internet. It's going to go ahead and look for this phase on the web assets. Okay, so domain. So domain is a new feature too. A domain allows me to search for assets out there that may be utilizing, say the name convention that we use is halosecurity.com for everything. Well, I want to see any other asset that either may belong to me using Halo, docs, Halo, help, what have you. And so I'm going to use this naming convention here. And I'm going to say start matches. And so now I'm going to say, go out there and find anything that's utilizing Halo with the asterisk, the wildcard.com, and bring that information to light. And I'm going to show you how you can quickly identify assets that belong to you or may not belong to you. Who is? I think this is pretty self-explanatory. It's it's search in the Who is database, and so you can enter a phone number, an address, a registered email address, a company name, etc., to search the Who is database. And then lastly, image. Image. So another method of identifying these malicious websites that have been cloned utilizing your brand, for example, would be an image search. And so in order for me to make a website, if I had some malicious intent to look real, I might use your favicon logo. And so therefore, when you're conducting these searches, you land on my malicious website, you might think it's real because I'm using the same favicon, for example, and it looks exactly the same because I cloned your website. And so that's something that you may be interested in searching. And so you can also do the same here with image search. And so you can search for those type of assets. You can also search for assets that may have, belong to you, but were registered by a different development team. A lot of the times we have third parties that develop, digital assets for us, whether it be a web application, a marketing page, etc. And so you may want to identify if they develop any other assets that they forgot to communicate to you. And so this is one way of identifying those assets. And so let's go to the domains that powered by Halo were discovered. Now, one way is to kind of go through this list, right? You can navigate through this list and go one by one and see which asset belongs to you or not. A much faster way of viewing this is by clicking on this icon here, View Discovered Assets. Instead of going through each of these related domains and trying to understand, well, does this belong to me? Does this not belong to me? Is this a domain that we're utilizing or not utilizing? You can take a look at this information up here. So this tells me the New York Post here was discovered via a form, or maybe was discovered via a certificate, right? this tells you the connection that you have to that domain. So that's one method. A much faster method, I believe, is utilizing the preview tab. And so now it's a snapshot of all those related domains. And so now instead of just looking at each name, I can just quickly scroll down and look at these images. And so this is a snapshot of those domains. I can say, oh yeah, this domain here belongs to me. This one belongs to me too. This one belongs to me too. And this one does too. And we're going to go ahead and add those to our discovery fields here so we can further enumerate those, right? The whole goal with our discovery section here and the discovery module is to provide you a comprehensive way of discovering as much digital assets, many digital assets on the attack surface as possible.